Great afternoon. We are here at Keta Central. What are we doing here? We are here to have the view of the whole history behind this fort. It's called Fort Prinsensten. And we are here to have a view of it. What goes into this? When was this established? So who are those who established this fort? We are here to get in there to have a whole history behind this fort. So stay glued to this great channel. Remember, watch the whole video from A to Z and you see what is behind the history behind this great fort. Prinsensten. I have with me Honorable James Oklu, I call it the tour guide over here at Fort Prinsensten. He is here to run down the whole history behind this fort. So Honorable, you're welcome to Everlove TV. It's a YouTube channel. I want you to give us the rundown of this fort.
Once again, you're welcome. James Oklu, I call is my name. I would say in the whole of Africa, 68 forts and castles can be found in Africa. And then 64 dot the coastline of Ghana, formerly Gold Coast. So, Elmina is the oldest in Sub-Saharan Africa, 1482, by the Portuguese. So the same Portuguese went and put up a fort in Azim for St. Anthony, also the year 1515. We also have the Cape Coast Castle, 1653, by the Sweden traders. And then Christianborg Castle in Accra, formerly the seat of the government, 1661, by the Danish Norwegians. So the same Danish Norwegian came and put up this fort. From 1700, they completed 1784. They were buying slaves from Togo, Benin, Nigeria, and other parts of Gold Coast, now Ghana. So those slaves from Togo, they have a slave market called Accra.The Fort. Benin, they have Wida, Glepa, Agbomi, and then Badagli. So those slaves were transported by foot into the fort over here, kept for 1 or 2 months, and finally transported over the Atlantic Ocean. And then most of them were sold in a Danish Norwegian's island, St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John. Formerly it was called West Indies, but now US Virgin Island. So each of the rooms or the dungeons take about 100 to 200 slaves in those days. But initially no ventilation. It was after when the fort was sold to the British, that was the time this window was created. So inside the dungeon, the slaves defecate, urinate, sleep there, and they are dying through insanity condition. The water, they'll pour it under the door. They have to use their tongue to lick it. Food were thrown to them through the window. They have to struggle for them. And finally, they use hot iron to mark various parts of their body for easy identification. And the thread by then was so persuasive that even the
easy identification, meaning the owners are different.
Yes.
So they have to identify them by their owners.
Exactly. So they use branding to identify them. You know, they have a lot of merchants around. We have the Brazilian merchants, the Portuguese, and all Dutch. So they differentiate their slaves against other traders or other merchants at that time. So the trade by then, as I was telling you, it was so persuasive that even the smallest community, they have to go on a war path in order to secure slaves, to get arms, to defend themselves when attacked. An unfortunate one were the must to establish slave market. We have the Atoko slave market. It's just like how Asimanso, Salaga, Sandema slave market is. So the slaves were put on display like any marketable commodity, and they were sold to the highest bidders. They also use shea butter or palm oil to rub the body of the slave, just to make them very attractive to the buyers. And then Samori and Babatus in the north, they were raiding, kidnapping, and they channeled some of their slaves through Tetekrachi, that's the northern side of Volta, into the fort over here. So when the slaves arrived over here, they were sorted away, branded. And then they opened their mouth to estimate their age by the state of their teeth. They count the teeth of the slaves. When it's up to 32, they know they're fully grown adult. So children and younger slaves were counted as quarter, half to 10 pieces of cargo, depending upon the estimated commercial value. So where we are standing now, this is the female section of the fort.
The female section.
So at the other end, that's the male section. So the fort stand alone. There was no building surrounding the fort at that time. It was after they abolished slave trade. That was the time people came in to put up houses around the fort. They abolished slave trade in 1807, but illegal trafficking goes on up to 1834. the British sent some of their slaves to Sierra Leone. So that's why they named the capital Freetown, because of the free slaves. And America also sent some of their slaves to Liberia. They also named the capital after their president by then, James Monroe. So James Monroe was the 5th president of US. So they named Monrovia after him.
Okay.
You
So
see?
you mean here is the female
Section of the fort.
Can we go around so that we can see?
Yes. So over here, this is where the female slave bath. So when they are taking their bath, the governor stand at the top, point at the one here to mine, sleep with them. That's why you have a lot of mulattoes in Keta. So the water that they bath to remains here in case they are thirsty. They drink the same water that they were bathing with. So the governor stand and then point at the secret one, the beautiful ones, and the security men around take those people up to him. He sleep with some of them. That's why you have a lot of mulattoes as a result of that. So, yes, and that's why when the water they bath, when they conceive, they leave them around, and after delivery, the mother will be taken away, and the child remain with them. They were groomed, and they were interpreting the language for them over here. Okay, so this is one of the rooms where our great-grandfathers, our great-grandmothers were kept at that time. So this is the artist's impression about how the fort looked like in those days, before the sea destroyed part of it. And this is the watchtower that you can see over here, where the security men stay to overlook the entire building. You know, slave trade was a trade by barter. They were using brandy, whiskey, mirror in exchange for slaves. And later on, they start using the cowries shells. These shells was used as a medium of exchange. So 500 of these by a female slaves. 1 to 500 for the female slaves. And 1 to 300 for the male slaves. The main reason is that the female produced over there and they sell to other plantation owners. That's why the female were more expensive than the male slave. And this has been used as an African currency. And when Kwame Nkrumah became president, he changed our pound shilling to cedi. So the accounts call this one cedi, and we call it hochi. So when you have a lot of this, we become hochito or rich man. You see. And after this, our great-grandfather used a money called finnick. That's the smallest coins. They used it called finnick. Finnick was the first money our great-grandfathers used. So that's where there's a word called finnick imela shinyama kokoganao. Because I have no that small coins to be given to you. And then we also have this is what they used to smoke the tobacco. This is what they used to smoke the tobacco at that time. And then we also have the finnick over here too. The one I'm talking about. And that's the finnick. That they use after the cowrie shells. And then the stool was taken from our chiefs. The indigenes of Keta, they are the Agbosmasoma people. They were the first settlers. And they gave out the land to the Danish to put up the fort. So when they changed from the trading activities to the slavery, our great-grandfathers stood against them. What happened? They bombarded the town, killed Toby Degani, making our people move from here to where they are now, Agbozuma. So they took the stool from the palace, and it has been kept over here to the left. You know, the stool signifies the authority of the chief. When they take the stool from you, it means they have taken your power from you. So they took the stool from the palace, and it has been kept over here to the left.
So meaning that palace is no more existing.
It's no more existing.
Since the stool have been taken
Yeah, they bombarded the palace. The palace was totally destroyed by the Danish. So making our people move from here to where they are now, Abosma. That's why they celebrate Keta Songma Tutuza over there for their migration from here to that end. And the deputy governor of the fort, trying to escape to Grand Popo in Benin, he was captured by Toby Sapegbo. They used him to make that big idol in the back of the Denu market over there. So when you
white man have been used to.
yeah, so when you go there, you see some big idol. It contains the remains of the deputy governor called textiles. And then Governor Q ran to Christianborg Castle. The Christianborg Castle is the headquarters for the Danish Norwegians at that time. So the Danish have 5 in Ghana. They have a Christianborg Castle in Osu, Accra. They have Augustaborg in Teshi. They have Fridensborg, Oningo, Prinzenstein in Adan. And this Prinsenstein, meaning the stone of the prince. A stein in Denmark is stone. It becomes Prinsensten. That's the meaning of the fort. This portion have been taken away by the sea. This is why the sea have destroyed.
Half of it?
Half of the fort is taken by, 3/4 of the fort is taken by the sea. See, 3/4.
So meaning here are no longer in existence?
No.
It's just from here?
Yeah, this side is taken by the sea. It's in the sea now.
Oh, okay.
When you watch here, this is how the fort look like before the sea destroyed part of it. And this is how they transported the slaves from the north into the fort. So they burn marks at the various part of their body for easy identification. They were taken down to be arranged this way. This is how they arranged them in the lower deck of the ship. So they beat them. They use horse and dog to chase and then kidnap slaves. The weak and sick ones, they were tossed overboard on the high sea. They just tossed them overboard. And then this one they put around their neck to prevent them from escaping. And this is what we call kunyowu. When I die, it's better than they put this around my neck. They put on the marks so that people cannot easily identify them. But in American plantations, slave owners put on this for the slaves so that they will not eat the sugarcane they were cultivating. And then inside the rooms also they mix them so that they will not understand each other.
If they're able to understand each other, what will they think?
They will plot and escape from them. So this is what they used to weigh them to see how strong they are before they buy. So the way the slaves weigh determines their price in those days. So the way to see how physically fit and strong they are before they buy. So this is what they used to weigh to see how strong they are before they buy. So this is what they used to grind the corn. They don't have corn machine, so they will rely on this for their corn flour. So they will grind, they do selected slaves to do the cooking for them. When the shipment is ready, all of them were packed into the ship and they were taken away. So they selected among them to do the cooking. If the shipment is ready, all of them were packed into the ship and taken away. So this is what we call a te in our language. In those days, when our mothers marry, they have to take the te to their marital home. When they divorce, they have to move it. So moving from one man to another, we call it hotel dito. So become hateli. So hotel dito, that's the word. So this is atamvi, and this is the ate. So they grind the corn over here. It will corn flour. And that's the cooking pan that they used to cook for them. And that's the oven. The old oven that was used at that time. And that's the storeroom where they will store the food that they cook for them at that time. And in those days too, they realized that when they buy the slaves, they were taken across. Those slaves never come back. And our people start calling those from outside, they are from Ablochi, meaning Oblo, Ovachi, meaning they have deceived them by taking them there without coming back. Oblo, Ovachi.
That is why we call them
Ablochi.
outside as Ablochi.
Ablochi. Oblo, Ovachi. Become Ablochi. And the Danish over here were taking brandy, whiskey, and they have not tested our local gene before. So when they took our own, they test our own, they like the test. And they say, oh, so that be. And our people thought that was the name of the drink. It became soda be, soda be.
Soda be.
Yeah.
And it's now called soda be.
Soda be.
Meaning
because when they were testing brandy, whiskey, and they have not tested our own before. So they took our own and tested it. They liked the test and they pronounced the word, oh, so that be. And our
so that be.
Okay.
And it has turned soda be in our local language.
Yes.
Soda be.
Soda be.
Thank you.
Seen over here, they use oyster shells. Oyster shells has been used to put up the building. And these are the yellow ones brought from Denmark. They brought it from Denmark to fortify the walls of the fort. And they use a slave labor during the construction of the fort. These are local materials. They use as a cement.
Okay.
They use shells. You can see over here, they have not used cement.
Yes.
They use lime. And then the shells, as well as this in the yellow bricks that they brought from Denmark. So this is one of the rooms where the strong slaves were kept in those days. The hardened ones were kept over here. And that's the only ventilation you can see over there at the top there. The small ventilation that you... That's the by the sea. The fort extended to where the sea is. And from the fort to the sea is about 4 to 5 miles away. When you watch there, where I was born, you can see the canoes around there. Over there, the city destroyed our house in 1984. And we moved to where we are now today. There was a lot of buildings over here which have been submerged by the sea. The old London Park, the post office, the hospital, the Keta Zion, those facilities are now in the sea, the middle of the sea now, as I'm talking.
Meaning buildings were all over here.
Yes, a lot of buildings were here before the sea destroyed. Yeah, I was saying from the fort to the sea, it's about 4 to 5 miles. Yeah, 4 to 5 miles away. A lot of coconut plantation along the shore. Houses were here. The Zion School, the US, the Bartholomew, those big White House, John Holt, Keta Zion, Keta Post Office, Keta Police Station. All those things were destroyed. So the government have to relocate those facilities to Yelkopa, which we are seeing today. And the Keta was the regional capital for Volta region. Due to the erosion, they moved the capital to Ho. And Keta is the lowest point in Ghana. We are below the sea level. Unlike Accra, Cape Coast, they have a rocky coast. And we have a sandy coast. I would say slavery and its lingering consequences must be kept in our minds so that we are guided away from such a devastating incident in our history. Thank you.
Thank you so much for speaking to Everlove TV. We thank you so much, Honorable James Okru Akoli, for speaking to Everlove TV. You know, this has been one of the great things in the history of Everlove TV. To come over here to just have the view of everything, the history behind this fort. And we are glad you were able to explain everything for you. We thank you so much for speaking to us, Mr. James Okru Akoli, for speaking, the Honorable Member for Keta Electoral Area.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.